Hello. Oh my god, it's been a minute since I did a reading update. This is going to be a small one, and there are more coming. Um, Thank you for all of your kind words on my new video about these shelves behind me. It was a lot of fun to make that video. There has been an important update down here on the shelf. This vinyl is now displayed. Literally 4 discs. It's so much. It looks so good down here. Evermore, we had a good run. You'll be back. I promise. Today I wanted to do a very specific fall reading update. What I've been reading in the fall. There's been a lot. My 100 book challenge for the year had been going pretty well for a really long time. But a year is just, there's a lot of months, there's a lot of opportunities for it to go wrong. And it has gone wrong, and I have about 5 or 6 weeks to read over 20 books. And I will, because I can't not. But this is exactly what I manifested for myself when I made a video last year about the evolution of a Goodreads goal, and roasting everyone who did that, and now it is me. Poetry and I are about to get very closely acquainted. I'm going to be talking about fall favorites in this video. This video is also sponsored by Redbubble. Thank you so much, Redbubble. There's going to be a discount code if you are starting to do your holiday shopping. You'll get 15% off everything. They were kind enough to send me some of my favorite things, so I'll be showing those to you in this video. There's so much. There's so much. If you're unfamiliar, Redbubble is a fantastic site where there's basically not a lot you can't do in the gift department there, across so many fandoms, seasonal things, merch. So many artists use Redbubble as an outlet. They create everything from coffee mugs to journals and wall art and clothing. Every time I have an opportunity to work with them, it is so exciting because like the art that I have on my wall expands, my wardrobe expands, and I'm excited to share that with you today. This year, as I'm reading constantly, so many of the sentences that I get to say begin with "I finally read," and I'm very happy to tell you that I finally read If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. Now, this is not an insanely popular book. It's dark academia. There's a heavy Shakespearean undertone. By undertone, I mean several passages very explicitly put in there and like very direct references. My friend Jana, this is one of her all-time favorite books, and so it's been on my back burner list for 2 good years now. And I told myself that this October would be the time when I finally did it, because it feels like a very fall book. And I was correct about that. It was such a lovely reading experience, taking on this chaotic story through the Halloween season. The book is split into 5 acts. Every chapter is a scene. It's a boarding school theater training. Murder mystery is not the word. We start 10 years later when our main character has been imprisoned for a murder that he may or may not have committed. And then we go back and we spend quite a bit of time leading up to the event. Huge ensemble cast of characters, which is actually my biggest complaint. Like, too many characters, ensemble casts with a lot of names to track and not a ton happening with all of them is dangerous territory for me as a distracted reader. What made the book a really solidly 4-star for me is the dynamics between the characters, the one-on-one relationships, and the writing. I love scenes that take place in like an acting class where there's something really interesting that happens in the translation of like acting language, classroom into prose, novel form. You end up using a lot of words and sort of dancing around things and saying what things are not, but what they might be like, except if this happened, then it was actually like that. And so that showed up so much in the writing, which could drive someone crazy, but I adored that. I didn't sleep long, and I slept like a man on a raft, waves rolling underneath me, seasick more than drunk. Like, that to me is how people talk when they're in acting class and like being grilled by their professor or teacher. It's almost like a therapeutic, like, I don't believe you, like what really happened? Like, what were you really thinking? What did it really feel like? Between these 7 young actors at the Shakespearean Delacour Classical Conservatory, there's a Halloween performance of Macbeth. Things go down, things go sideways. It's a wonderful fall book. It would also be a wonderful Christmas holiday book because we do go into that time of year. So if you're like me and have to read things seasonally, it's still a good time for this. I'm so happy I read this. Dark Academia is not my normal comfort zone, and this is kind of, it's not a crazy long book, but it did feel like it. It is not an incredibly fast-paced book. There's always something happening, but because you know that there is an event we're building up to, it becomes a very enjoyable journey getting there to about the 50-60% mark. That's all I'll say. I adored If We Were Villains so much. And I get to say it again. I finally read The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. Although reading this just made me so sad that I did not get to see the play. This is an amazing book. I'm sure it's an incredible adaptation, so creatively told. It's the kind of book where you're bound to learn something, you're bound to be uncomfortable sometimes. So moving, so stunning, so creative. The main character is a child who has autism. All the chapter numbers are prime numbers, and there's a really interesting chapter that sort of explains why that is. We go from story chapters to chapters where we sort of learn about the main character and insight. It's just like masterful writing and storytelling and balance in this book. There is basically a suspicious death of a neighbor's dog, and Christopher, the main character, is determined to find out what happened because it was an improbable thing and something that doesn't make sense to him, and he needs to get to the bottom of it. And through that, things are revealed about his family, his childhood, his life, and it gets upsetting. And I know I'm like 10 literal years late to this train, but I'm so glad I finally got on it. I've had this book on my shelf for years and years. That's the beauty of this reading challenge, is that I'm reading all these things that were just on my backlist. This book is from 2003. Wow, I would love to see a film adaptation of this as well. And I feel like because of the creativity in the writing and how Mark Haddon uses this format of the book, it being prose and having chapters, and then I'm sure the same themes were interpreted in different ways to be adapted to the stage, I would love to see how a director would take that and make it a film, because I think it has really great potential. And now it's time for me to show you what I have from Redbubble this fall. I got to do a nice little autumnal online shopping spree through Redbubble. I've got everything in this tote bag. So like I said, these are like an artist has this stunning photo, and you could get it on a tote bag, on a coffee mug, etc. I love this so much and have been using it. I focused on photography this time. I was just really into a lot of what they had this time around. This is a journal, and these are ballet dancers with this gorgeous bird's eye view photo. And I know exactly what I'm going to use this journal for. I haven't done anything yet, otherwise I would not be flipping through the pages, but I'm excited about this. It is stunning. This does have to be my favorite thing that I've received. It's another journal, but it's spiral notebook style. Probably going to be more of a work thing for me. And it's just trying my best in the skeleton with the coffee. And I was compensated for modeling for this photo. And finally, I wanted to show you before I put this on my wall, but oh my god. This, as discussed, Red is down there, the vinyl version, and when I saw this canvas print, it's a gorgeous, really nicely sized canvas print that I'm going to put on my wall. And it's just like autumn leaves falling down like pieces into place, you know? That's exactly what this feels like. The print is really nice, really high quality. Damn. So thank you again, Redbubble, for sponsoring this video. My discount code for 15% off your entire purchase is in the description, along with a link to my favorites page where you can find all of this stuff. God bless. The next book I want to tell you about, I have a couple friends who roast me sometimes about my taste in books and say that I'm either like a closeted 15-year-old or a 50-year-old lit professor, and that second part, the next book I'm going to talk about would be an example of why they say that. But this book absolutely slaps, and it is A Passage North by Anuk Arudpragasm. Got the tabs in there. So many sentences in this book that I'm still thinking about. This is a finalist for the Booker Prize. Garth Greenwell, one of my favorite authors of all time, blurbed this book on the back, and so I had to read it. I also did the audiobook, which was a stunning experience. Not a lot of dialogue in this one. It is a very literary journey. There's traveling happening at Passage North. Our main character basically learns in the beginning that his grandmother's caretaker has passed away, and it's the traveling from home to where they are to attend the funeral. There's a lot of flashbacks, a lot of discovery of self. There's a love story buried in here. The writing is what makes this, so if you're someone who enjoys literary fiction, enjoys beautiful writing, if you're more of a YA reader and you really love Tahara Mafi, I'm trying to connect some dots here. What was the point of trying to account for all the time that had passed like a river between them, gone and impossible to retrieve? What was the point when all that writing could accomplish was to remind them how much they'd once shared, when the only way to respect what had existed between them was to remain apart, to acknowledge that no words could bridge the vast distance between them? Shit like that is written in this book, and it's just one of those things where as I'm listening to it, I'm like getting chills. I like have to stop in my tracks. It is unbelievable, this book. In this sense, forgetting was not so different from remembering, an important and necessary part of life, just as central as remembering when it came to establishing an identity and orienting ourselves toward the future. Having this sort of outsider view as the main character is learning so much and thinking so deeply about themselves, I can either say just a little bit or I would go on about this for hours and hours, so I'm just gonna say that I adored this book so very much. If you've read it, I would love to discuss. And the final book I want to tell you about for this autumn reads journey that we're on is I finally read The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. This is my first Amy Tan experience. I'm so grateful it was this book. It was highly recommended to me. It's been out forever. It's about motherhood and family. There's a movie adaptation that I need to watch and hopefully will over the holidays. Focuses on 4 Chinese American immigrant families, the stories between the mothers and the daughters. So through the different sections we come back to these stories, but it is really focused in. It feels like a short story collection sometimes, but there is, you know, a center point within there. So I really enjoyed the structure of it for that reason. I'm sure the film is beautiful in that way too. My favorite book I've read this year is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner, which I haven't even talked about on this channel yet because I'm not ready to, but I will in my end of year. But going from that to this, there are similarities in a lot of ways in the mother-daughter experience, and oh God, it hurts. But it's so good, so sweet. It's very short as well, very readable, very emotional. Also, just Amy Tan's story as a writer and what this book did and meant to her. Look it up, because you'll cry. So that's all I've got for you right now with this reading update. Like I said, I've been reading so much, and so for me to have made videos all this time with every single book I've been reading in full reviews would be a lot. I will be doing some ranking, some listing at the end of the year, and I'm so excited to do that. So excited we're coming up on that time, except that I need to read 20 books. So more soon. I hope you're having a lovely fall season, a lovely Thanksgiving ahead if you're in the States, and December approaches. Thank you for watching. My name is Tiernan. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. Goodbye.